Hi everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk About Sleep. Here's the original, the OG book. You can get this on Amazon. Link is in the description box down below. And of course, a new one has just come out, The Story of Sleep from A to ZZZ. Get it? Also on Amazon. You can get that in the link, I should say, is in the description box down below. So, thank you for everybody for your support, and keep it coming, please. Alright, so to get right into this, today we're going to be, today in the next video, maybe the one even after, we're going to be doing a Q&A, right? This month's Q&A. A lot of questions to go over, so like I said, it may be 2 or even 3 parts. As I always say, these videos are for education only. And, as I sometimes say, keep the questions in the comments respectful. Alright. Now, with that being said, let's get right into this. So, on my sleep inertia video, Fatty writes, I suffer GERD, that's reflux, heartburn, and a few other health problems, and I experienced what this has been discussed in this video, and it was horrible, sleep inertia. Previous few nights, I've never felt this fatigue. I struggle a lot with day-to-day routines. Indescribable feeling, really wouldn't recommend. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Fatty. What can happen is when somebody doesn't get quality sleep, right, for, let's say, an extended period of time, a few days, a few weeks even, and then they try to make up for it, what can happen is that sleep inertia feeling can occur, and even though they're, quote, getting their sleep in, the quality of it may be so deep that waking up out of it, it's like the brain wants to go back to sleep. Okay, so what I would say is reflux is oftentimes associated with sleep apnea. If you haven't had a sleep test, it might be useful to get one. Okay, and as I said, I actually wrote back to him. I said it can make the day much more difficult, sleep inertia, and I'll get a sleep evaluation. So then he writes back, Fatty writes back, I do have sleep apnea as well. I've had that machine to monitor my movement and breathing overnight. My wife says like I'm drowning. I guess that's what the reflux is. It sounds silly, but feels like somebody had turned my IQ right down. Awful feeling. Yeah, sleep inertia is not fun. I definitely, if you have sleep apnea then, as I predicted, you definitely want to get that treated, okay? That should help the reflux. That should help the sleep itself. That should help the sleep inertia. Remember, why are sleep apnea and reflux associated with each other? Well, when you're trying to breathe in against a closed-off airway, right, here is where sleep apnea happens. Your airway's closed off. Your chest is generating all this pressure, negative pressure, to kind of suck air in. You end up sucking acid up from the stomach. So you treat the sleep apnea, sometimes the reflux gets better as well. So I would definitely go after that and try to be consistent with your sleep. All right, thanks for the comments and questions. On my Ambien and other Z drugs video, a bunch of comments there. Marita writes, this is a dangerous medicine. And I wrote back, it can be. Now, any medicine can be dangerous, right, if it's not used in the right way. What I always say is Ambien, medications like that, Lunesta, Sonata, these are medicines that if they're used every now and then to help somebody with sleep, let's say on a Sunday night, for example, a little anxious, that's no problem. The issue occurs when, one, they're used every single night indiscriminately. Okay, I mean, there are certain circumstances where that has to be done, but they're used every night indiscriminately, and they're either masking an underlying problem, like sleep apnea, like I said with Fatty, or there hasn't been a sleep evaluation at all, right? So what I would say is, plus they also have sleepwalking and other things that are associated with it, including memory problems. But what I would say is, if you're using it more than a couple times a week or so, or even maybe even less than that, you want to get an evaluation. You want to get a proper evaluation because there may be, most likely there's something else going on here. Okay, whether it be anxiety or depression, and the medication is used to kind of mask that, or there's something physical like sleep apnea. Okay. Gabrielle writes, there's a lot of information about how Ambien works on our GABA receptors the same way a benzo would, giving you similar withdrawals. Can you explain why we wouldn't get the same withdrawals? Well, it's not as profound. The physical addiction there is not as profound as with the benzos. So there may be some physical addiction, but it's not as deep as it is with the benzodiazepines. Benzodiazepines, when you come off of them, abruptly, right? If you're on them for a long time, you come up them abruptly, that can kind of prime the system to lead to a seizure. Ambien doesn't have that same affinity for those receptors, okay? But as I wrote to Gabrielle, I said in either case needs to be done gradually. If you're on Ambien every single night, I would not recommend just stopping it. Not that you're going to seize, but you're going to have rebound insomnia. And so what I would say is you want to kind of just wean it down slowly. If you're on it every single night, and maybe what you do is if you're on, let's say, 10 milligrams, maybe cut a quarter off, do that for a few nights, then do half for a few nights or even a few weeks, then a quarter until nothing. Sometimes what I do with my patients is I'll have them wean down Ambien and then replace it with something safer like melatonin, let's say, for example, or my personal favorite, trazodone. But the point is, though, sometimes you have to add back something that's not as dangerous. Okay. Then Gabrielle writes, thanks for replying. I've been on Zolpidem for 6 years. Had bad insomnia and lots of stressors. But I have myself in a tizzy on the benzo support forum saying that Z drugs are just as bad to come off of. This video gave me a glimmer of hope. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a question of, it almost doesn't matter, though, frankly. It's a question of doing it slowly, right? You've been on this for 6 years. I would do it very slowly. I would err on the side of extreme caution and saying, okay, I've been on this for 6 years. I am going to wean down over the course of months, right? So for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to go down to a quarter of, I'm going to take a quarter of the pill off. Try that out and see how it goes. All right. Thank you. Also on my Zolpidem video, Angir writes, since when does the medical system look for the root of any problem? They don't. So why act concerned about the root of this problem? Please respond. Well, as I wrote to you on my response, I think we should look for the root of problems. So that's the way I practice medicine. That's the way I think it's the right thing to do. So hopefully that answers your question. And then finally, we're going to end this video with trazodone. Comments on my Let's Talk About Trazodone video. Blackthorn writes, I was just prescribed it and has really helped me sleep. Good stuff. Yeah, like everything else, it's not for everybody, okay? It's not for everybody, but in the right person, especially if there's a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of depression, it can be really, really, really helpful, and it's not addictive, okay? And then Paris writes, I'm scared they put crazy other things in these meds, but the minute I notice worse symptoms, I'm reporting it. Yeah, I mean, that is possible, especially with generics, I guess, coloring and that kind of thing, but I really haven't had that be a problem with trazodone. And then Abu writes, hi, doctor, I've been having problems sleeping after COVID, and I can't get sleep for the last few nights. My doctor prescribed trazodone 50 milligrams. Is it good for COVID insomnia? Please help. Yeah, I mean, I think oftentimes people have insomnia from COVID, not because of the virus itself, although that could happen, but from the anxiety around it and the stress of having COVID or getting COVID or knowing somebody with COVID. So yeah, trazodone, I think in that case would be great. In addition to maybe meditation before bed, trying to get some exercise, good sleep habits in general. Okay? So great questions, everybody. Thank you for interacting. The next video will answer the rest of these questions. It'll probably be next week. Eventually, I'm going to go back to 2 videos a week, but for now, just a little crazy, so we'll do once a week. But yeah, keep the questions coming, keep interacting, and please like and subscribe and share, so on and so forth. And until next time, everybody, sleep well.